So, Australia voted yes on the marriage equality plebiscite. I just wanted to give my little quick feedback on my interpretation and reaction. For a start, I was surprised by the stats. 61% of people voted yes, 40 or 39-ish percent voted no, and of a total of all the people that could vote, 80% chose to vote. So obviously it stirred a massive heartstrings in Australia. What does it mean for the country as a whole? Well, in the short term, nothing much is going to change because they have to wait to change the laws. This was only a vote of opinion, not a referendum change, so nothing will actually happen right now. What I predict is that a bunch of politicians will side on either side. Mostly will say, oh, well, Australian politics or the Australian public want a yes vote and want this change, and they'll probably go down that path. And to me, it seems fairly obvious. It's like any social change or civil rights movement, it's going to happen. We're going to become a more liberal and more inclusive society. The interesting part is that there was quite a significant minority, 40%-ish, that's about 4.5 million people. So 4.5 million Australians voted no. And there's obviously a bunch of different reasons for that. The main few that I heard was, number one, they've got a religious background and they believe that marriage should be between a man and a woman based on religion. And, just to say that that's outdated sounds, a bit understated. They're following a belief system that was created 2,000 years ago, and they're choosing to follow that part, but they're not following the other parts. And, I like to bring up the fact that they're wearing, clothes of two different threads, that if they look in their same Bible, just as it might be against the Bible to have gay marriage, it's also against the Bible to wear clothing of two different threads. So they sort of pick and choose based on their own ethics. It's almost like, well, my God believes what I believe and my God doesn't believe what I don't believe. So the religious argument I seem to think is flawed unless you're following the whole book. And let's be honest, no one really does. The other side of things is that I've heard people saying, well, this is a non-issue in the sense that if you look at all of the bigger issues in the world, global warming and, geopolitical strife, we're spending all of this time and effort and money debating gay rights when that same effort could be put to greater causes. And my reaction to this is twofold. Well, look, it is a cause that has to be pushed through and fought for, unfortunately, in the sense that it sucks that it has to be this massive issue. It should just be a thing, and obviously Australia agrees. But I do sort of agree that as a race, we need to focus on the big things, the things that could be, pose an existential problem. Whether or not there's, marriage equality, ultimately won't keep the human species from going to war. It won't keep us from polluting our world out of existence. It won't stop global warming. So, although I'm tremendously happy that the vote went through and I support it and I promoted it and I pushed for it, I want to see people focusing on the things that could potentially cause humanity as a whole to suffer. So for me, that's global warming. That's nuclear war. These things are still issues. So I can sort of agree with that camp when they talk about, well, why are we focusing on this than this other thing? But for them to then vote no as a way to sort of, as a protest against focusing on something that they think is insignificant, I think stupid. If you think it's insignificant, vote yes, it's going to happen anyway, and then you can push the public to focus on more important things. Finally, I just wanted to address something that I see a parallel for what I'm pushing for in the LGBTQ community, and that's ending stigma. So I talk here a lot about mental health, mental illness, and stigma reduction, and I'm all for, talking about it, sharing it, and promoting it, because by talking about mental health and mental illness and all that sort of stuff, it opens up the conversation and everyone's able to talk about it. And for me, seeing this massive push and, sort of Australia-wide discussion and debate about marriage equality and, LGBT rights is very, very positive, because it suggests that as a country and as a race, I suppose, because it's happening around the world, we're more open to talking about our inner worlds. And, I was thinking, for people that are not or don't have the similar sexuality to the majority of people, they're going to be facing this constant inner battle with themselves to try and either fit in or stand up and fight for their own rights and fight for themselves and who they are. And I see a big crossover between that and mental health. People that have mental health, you don't see it. You don't see someone walking around with a sign over their head saying, I've got a mental health concern. In a similar way, you don't see someone with a sign over their head saying, well, I'm part of the LGBT community. Some people do. Some people do that for both parties. But in general, people like to keep it to themselves. So I really appreciate that this has started a debate and a discussion, and it's opened up people to talk. And I would like to push for a mental health reforms and allow people to be open and honest and discuss the things that are going on in their head, as well as the things that have happened to them in their past. You know, we've all got hang-ups from the past, but people that have gone through, you know, physical, emotional, or sexual abuse and neglect struggle to share and talk about their stories. I want to help to make that change, and I can very much see that direct correlation between the marriage equality vote and going down that same push. So let's keep the conversation going. Let's talk, and let's share what's happening for us and not just go along with status quo. If you like what I'm doing here, I very strongly encourage you to like, share, and subscribe. It helps me to know that you're there and listening. Comment below on your opinion as well. And also tag people, or, you know, get the conversation started. I've got a blog, a podcast on my website at zachary-phillips.com that I invite you to check out, as well as a bunch of videos wherever you're seeing this, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter and YouTube, as well as on Pinterest at Zach P. Phillips. Thanks.